good whenever you're listening to this. Welcome to the new episode of Dakota Boys Talk Movies. We are going to talk a movie. What movie are we talking, Dakota?
Suicide Squad. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oops.
The Suicide Squad.
El Squados. Got to get that "the" in there, or it's a totally different movie. Yeah, the Suicide Squad. Wow, this was a movie, huh? We're just gonna kind of give our thoughts. We know like it's been out, quote unquote, for a little while as far as theater, maybe cut it on streaming and things like that, but it's out now on disc and probably the rental thing. What am I?
Redbox.
There you go. Yeah, like Redbox and Vudu and all that stuff. So yeah, wow, Dakota, this was a real
most expensive trauma movie ever.
I mean, this, I feel like this movie was everything that I think we all thought the first one was going to be, where it was like, oh, this is going to be the different DC movie. And, you know, I feel like that's how they were trying to play up the first Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it's gonna be gritty and there's gonna be death and just death and Harley Quinn. Yeah. And you get that in this with some pretty dark humor and some whimsical elements and
whimsical, dark humor, maybe some
potty humor,
maybe some allegory here and there, just everything. Like you said,
the former Doctor Who wearing a tracksuit with those things coming out of his head. Like, there's a lot going on in this movie.
Everybody's least favorite Doctor Who, Peter Capaldi.
You know, I can never forget. I should remember his name because it's so unusual, but I was like, hey, it's that one Doctor Who before the really good one.
Yeah, because who was after him?
Wasn't it Matt Smith? Or am I thinking of the bald...
David Tennant was in there somewhere, too. Anyway...
We're not Doctor Who fans, damn it.
Yeah. No, I just see Doctor Who stuff because every cookie's on my computer and people around me think I'm going to like Doctor Who, but it exists. But the Suicide Squad. Wow. Dakota, I think you said it best when you said most expensive trauma movie ever made.
Should we explain what trauma was to people?
Yeah, I guess you might want to explain that. I think once you explain maybe a few other movies they've made, they might understand.
So my introduction to the trauma universe started with a little movie called The Toxic Avenger. It was a low-budget superhero movie where this nerd that is just constantly being bullied by everyone gets bullied so hard he falls into some toxic sludge and he becomes this somewhat big, kind of deformed hero that beats up people.
Yeah, and they made like what 5 or 6 of them.
And then there was a cartoon show on USA.
Yeah, and trauma is just known for its over-the-top violence, ridiculous dark humor. Just
gross out humor.
Yeah, gross out, things like that. And it feels and apparently it's where James Gunn kind of got his ears wet, or however that saying goes, got his feet wet. He's getting things wet.
Okay, Stephen.
And so you almost got to wonder if maybe when Warner Brothers were like, hey, did Marvel fire you? Come over to us. You can do whatever you want.
Well,
that he was like, whatever I want?
When it comes to James Gunn, I remember he made this movie called Slither, and it came out when we were in college, and it was just
like 2006, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and just all like the art students were like, you got to watch this film. It's like the greatest film ever. And I watched it and just like, well, this is just gross. And then that was it.
Gross and dumb humor is kind of what it was.
Yeah, and then he made Super, which was that what it was called?
Yeah, it's just called Super, and basically he kind of almost he kind of did something before superhero movies even really were huge, but he was already kind of almost doing a deconstruction of a superhero. with just like, what if you just put them in the absolute complete real life, like they're just a guy who decides he's gonna go get revenge, and kind of almost deconstructed like, the superhero in that way. But he did that movie kind of like right when superhero movies were still just, you had Spider-Man and X-Men and things like that, but weren't like what they really are today, the huge juggernaut where it's everything. But yeah, and so he was he was known for this kind of deconstructionist humor in the past a little bit, and then just weird violence with humor in it kind of attached to it. But then I think there's this whole other crowd that only knows him as the Guardians of the Galaxy director. And then if you only knew him as like the Guardians of the Galaxy director or like the writer of the Scooby-Doo movies, then this was probably a real shock to you, real shock to the system for what this was. So yeah, Dakota. Now this is where it gets kind of sketchy. This is a sequel to the other one, ish. But then at the same time, it feels like it's very self-aware and saying, yeah, it's a sequel, but we don't give a crap. And we're going to do our own thing.
Yeah, they bring back characters from the first Suicide Squad and everything. I'm just going to throw this out there. Right at the start of the movie, everything just felt grimy. Like, kind of just gross. I don't know if it was just me.
Well, it was the world of terrible people. So,
and then it starts with Michael Rooker, a James Gunn kind of favorite.
I like to think of him as James Gunn's muse. Like works. Michael Rooker inspires me.
Yeah.
What'd you say about me?
And then, of course, you have Johnny Cash just singing along in the background, and then
he's not in the movie, just one of his songs.
Yeah, it takes place in the Blackgate prison that we saw in... Was it Blackgate prison? No, it was something else.
No, it was Belle Reve.
Yeah, Belle Reve. Getting my DC Universe prisons mixed up. But he's sitting there, and I think he's supposed to be, like, exercising, but he's just playing with the ball, and he just murders that bird, and it's like, okay, well, this is... Right away, you're just like, this is not...
It's kind of like, I feel like what he was doing there was you almost have like this Steve McQueen moment from The Great Escape where he's like bouncing this ball. But then, so I think it was like your first instance of like, this isn't your granddad's movie, because then it's like, he's just bouncing this ball like he's bored in prison. But then this bird lands in the corner and he kind of looks at it and you can't tell if he's looking at it lovingly. And then he just ricochets this ball to just bust this bird's neck.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah, he gets pulled out of this I don't even know what to call this room. This room with no roof.
Like must be like if you're in solitary confinement but they want to give you outdoors time.
Yeah. But then we're introduced to Amanda Waller, Rick Flag. Then we meet the rest of the Suicide Squad. A couple members from the original team, Harley Quinn.
But not Katana.
Harley Quinn and Boomerang are in there. And then they go on the mission. And man, what a kooky cast of characters.
Weasel, which is like just a human-sized weasel.
I'm going to just come out and say this. I wonder if when Pete Davidson showed up, they're just like, just be Pete Davidson. Just be Pete Davidson.
Be a jerk that nobody likes. Oh, so be myself?
And then he gets murdered. They all get murdered. And it's like, what is this?
Yeah, this is like before the opening credits.
Yeah, I felt so bad for Nathan Fillion's character, even though I laughed so hard at him when he died.
He had like the funniest death.
Yeah, and it's just, I felt bad for Captain Boomerang because this is the only role of Jai Courtney's I ever really liked. And although Rick Flag gets away, I should say on the plane ride to the mission start point, there is actually a really funny exchange on that airplane ride or chopper ride. What is that? What would you call that vehicle? The Skybird?
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, like a hover jet thing. I don't know.
So the DC's answer to the Quinjet, I guess.
Yeah, DC's answer to the Quinjet. There you go.
But great dialogue there, and I felt more for these characters than I did for the Suicide Squad characters in the first one, and then they're all brutally murdered.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, I mean, some of the like he's mentioning here, there were these known actors doing these roles, and it was really just like it just built up where anybody could. It was just setting up like you don't know who's gonna live and who's gonna die, and at any moment in the movie, and so it kind of, and that's what the Suicide Squad is. That's why it's called that, where it's like these villains get sent out on these missions to kind of like pay for their past wrongs, but it's like they could die for a myriad of reasons, whether on the mission or for trying to escape and have their head blown up. So, yeah, and so James Gunn really takes that even more to the extreme than the last movie did of what that looks like.
Yeah, it's the violence here is they turned it up to an 11 essentially.
Yeah, yes and no. Like there were times it was, but I feel like some of it was happening so fast and you were so distracted by humor that like I don't know if it always was as violent as you thought or so as violent as it seemed, or if it seemed worse because you actually think he would attach you to these people and then just kill them.
I don't know. We did see Pete Davidson's face explode. I mean,
I don't even remember that. So.
You blacked it out, Steven. You were so
Yeah.
traumatized.
I probably just didn't care because it was Pete Davidson. I wasn't probably even paying attention he was in this movie that much. But
And another character gets crushed by a helicopter and then burns to death. Although TDK technically could still be alive. His arms might be in rough shape, but he could still be alive.
he could be. The TDK. So what does that stand for?
The detachable kid.
Yeah. His arms come off and can do their own thing. So it's very humorous.
Which, yeah,
But yeah, and so what you're realizing though is then that as this whole team's massacred, you realize that on another part of the island, Amanda Waller has dispatched a whole other team, and you realize that's essentially the team you're going to end up following more through the movie, including John Cena's character, Peacemaker, what's his famous line he ends up saying in this movie? I love peace and I will kill every man, woman, and child to get it or something.
yeah, that's... And, you know, it sucks because even though he was described as the douchebag Captain America, this movie definitely lived up to that hype, man. Like, he doesn't have a shield. He just has a very large gun.
And a dumb helmet.
You know, I got to admire James Gunn for just taking that helmet straight out of the comics.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, not just the helmet, but, like, who wears... If you're killing people, why would you wear white pants?
White pants, and his symbol is this dove for peace.
It's a dove diving downward, though. So.
Yeah. And another... This is where expectations get subverted in the fact that Polka Dot Man seems like he's going to be one of the cannon fodder, and he ends up being a major player through the whole through most of the movie or all the movie.
Yeah, him and Ratcatcher 2.
And Ratcatcher 2, yeah.
You kind of end up caring for both of them, even though they're villains. But although it sounds like Ratcatcher 2 is just stealing stuff, so she's not like hardcore, like she wasn't like mass murdering
and Polka
people.
Dot Man too is like, I think that was what helped make them kind of more relatable, is that he was a victim of his own mother, who basically was obsessed with making her children into superheroes, and she just ended up making him a freak.
Yeah.
You know, and so and that's the other thing that's interesting about this movie, is that there's all these dumb over the top things that happen, but at the same time he really hits these emotional beats of just the relationship of a daughter to her father, and then in Polka Dot Man, this relationship he has with his mother and what she did to him and how he's traumatized by that. And you come to understand that he's so traumatized what his mother did that he just sees his mother everywhere, and it's like him trying to overcome that, and so it's weird how there is like these emotional beats in this dumb movie, in that sense or whatever. But then Harley Quinn, I know people like to see her. But man, did she feel she felt mostly unnecessary in this movie. At least how they used her felt unnecessary.
Yeah, she honestly, I said this, I think after we got done watching this, feels like she has her own mini movie in this movie.
Yeah, that is just enough tied to the main plot to like justify it, but not enough where it needed to be that way.
Yeah, I thought the action scene with her when she, I don't know, escapes, is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, I mean, as she's kind of you don't own me her way out of the place. Yeah, I mean,
as she's liberating herself.
Yeah.
That action scene was great. I love the little animated birds. That was a nice little touch.
You know, that's the thing. They did fun things with her, but they were things that didn't matter for this movie, though.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I don't know. Was this James Gunn wanting to use her in this movie, or was this the studio saying Harley Quinn has to be in this movie? I guess I don't even know how all that worked out.
Yeah, I have no idea. I feel like there was probably a push to kind of have Harley.
I mean, I'm sure he was planning on having her in the movie just because she was a part of the last one, but the fact that she had such a large, I hate to say pointless, but kind of pointless plot.
She's on screen probably way more than she should be. I'm just saying.
Yeah, then for what matters for what this the main point of this movie is.
Ratcatcher 2 does have an adorable sidekick who apparently is such a gentleman. He's willing to shake your hand. Felt like he had just as an integral part of this story, but he had so little screen time. What's up with that?
Who's that?
Ratcatcher 2. She has the little rat. She takes with her everywhere.
Oh, yeah, the little... Yeah. Yeah, they didn't really play much with that. I don't know. I mean, you'd think he would have had the experience with a baby Groot where he would have done more with that. Yeah, the other kind of runaway fan favorite with this was King Shark.
You mean the heart of the story?
I guess. I don't really feel like he's the heart of the story, but it feels like people think he is.
I think, well, one, it was Sylvester Stallone doing his voice.
Did the voice.
And
because Steve Agee played him on set, right? Motion capture.
Yeah. But I'm surprised he didn't have... Was he in this movie? There's so many characters. Like,
who?
Steve Agee.
Yeah, he was one of the Office people.
Oh, how did I forget?
In Waller's office.
Isn't he going to be in...
So he's probably going to be in that show, the Peacemaker show.
Okay. I'm mostly just stoked to see...
I would guess unless he's not and the other ones are. But.
Yeah, by the way, they're making a Peacemaker show. I don't know. Still...
Yeah, it comes out sometime later this year.
Yeah, that's right. DC Fandom event just kind of happened for us. Some of you are like, what's that? Check it out. Or not.
I mean, there wasn't much to check out. There's a few trailers that were dropped that were interesting, but yeah. And then what this movie is leading to is the villain ? Is Starro.
Yeah, I'll just come out and say this movie has no real villain.
Not a true villain in the sense of when you think of ultimate good versus evil type situations.
Yeah, there are. I like to think of it. There's nothing but antagonists and protagonists in here.
There's not even that many protagonists. It's almost like antagonist versus antagonist.
Well, I feel like if I guess there is one protagonist. It's kind of Idris Elba's character, maybe. Is he?
I was gonna say maybe Rick Flag.
Oh, there you go.
He would probably be the closest to a protagonist.
Yeah,
just because he's the only one who hasn't been in prison. Yeah, we haven't even really talked about Idris Elba, and I feel like it's because he's good, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with what he does. He's just like, he just isn't quite as memorable as some of these other performances.
I thought he was actually great. I feel like, man, has he ever like led like been the kind of the leading man in a movie? I feel like he kind of deserves the.
Well, I mean, he had that Luther show.
Well, I meant like in a movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not in the real true sense of the word, because in some ways he's kind of the lead in Pacific Rim, but not really. And then what was that movie where he's like married to Beyonce and then another woman's obsessed with him or something?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He's kind of the lead in that or whatever.
But
it's basically like a Fatal Attraction situation or something.
Yeah, they kind of just made him the captain in Prometheus. Just like, I feel like they're just like, let's use Idris Elba because people seem to think he's cool.
People know him. I think he's going to be the voice of Knuckles in the next Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Which I'm like, I could see that. That's kind of a cool voice choice. Voice choice. It's fun to say.
But I don't know. I guess for me, his character kind of bothers me because he's way too similar to Deadshot.
Oh my gosh! It almost felt like they just recasted Will Smith. He pretty much just was Deadshot to me. Except when he'd put on his mask, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, he's not Deadshot. He's this other guy with a worse mask. But
hey, I thought he had a cool mask.
No, I mean like as far as like meaner looking or whatever you want to call it. Like it had teeth and whatever. Yeah, the art design of it was cool. I didn't necessarily mean worse in that way, but and that's when I would all of a sudden remember that he was a different person because he's what's his name, Bloodsport or something, or not Bloodsport. That's a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. What's his name?
Oh, why does that sound so right?
It is Bloodsport.
Is it?
See, I said that, and then after I said it, I'm like, that's a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, though. And
no, let me look at this. It's not
Bloodsport. Pete Davidson is Blackguard. Yeah. And then, Daniela Melchior is who plays Ratcatcher too.
Yeah.
I guess I had never remember seeing her before this movie.
I actually remember her name because I saw so many memes about Ratcatcher 2 after this movie came out. Yeah, and about King Shark too.
Looks like a lot of the other stuff she's been in before this were stuff that has Spanish titles. So there you go.
Is it Spanish or Portuguese?
Yeah, that's true. That's me. Now here's the guy whose last name here's it. David Dastmalchian. He plays Polka Dot Man.
I thought we agreed.
And he was in Dune, and we keep liking him in things.
We're just calling him Double D, man.
Double D. Whenever I see him, though, I just always immediately think, the Babadook! From Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh,
God. But, yeah. It's so... I don't know. I don't know what else to even say about this movie. It's nuts.
Yeah. Can we just agree this was actually an entertaining movie? And I feel like people are putting this on a pedestal. I heard too many people saying, "Oh, it's like the movie of the decade and DC's like greatest movie of all time." And I'm like, "Whoa, slow your roll there, bud."
Yeah, this is not movie of the year, movie of the decade. But I think that what they did here in a weird way was something special. Which is kind of weird to say about a movie like this.
Yeah, and kind of, I don't know, in a way I think it kind of ruined the Suicide Squad franchise in that, hear me out, it feels like it's done. It feels like everything's kind of been like wrapped up. Like I don't think I want to see a sequel.
Yeah.
Unless it's helmed by James Gunn where like we get these characters and they try to go back out.
But the problem with going like this is it's hard to do it again because you are either duplicating it or people are expecting you to push it, but you can't force I don't know, it's just kind of hard where it's like maybe you do just kind of allow this to kind of be it. You do this Peacemaker TV show, and maybe you pepper things throughout the other movies, but you don't. Maybe the Suicide Squad is over for now. In this world,
which I guess is the downside to kind of basically this is what happens. I guess when you let a competent director kind of just work.
Yeah. Now they are doing another Harley Quinn movie, right?
Well, fortunately, the actress that plays her has kind of come out and said she wants to take a break. I mean, last year she had just put out that Harley Quinn, and I don't even know what it's officially titled anymore. I think it's just called Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey now.
Oh, yeah, it was like Birds of Prey and Harley Quinn's Fantabulous Independence or something. Yeah. Did they change it to just Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey or something?
I think it was Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, and then I think it was just Harley Quinn semicolon, and then Birds of Prey. So I don't know, like I've seen so many different ways
because there was talk of doing another Harley Quinn movie, and it was going to be like Harley Quinn and the Joker or something, right? Where they were going to do another one with more Joker to it.
Yeah, I think Jared Leto's done when it comes to playing the Joker.
Well, now he's going to be Morbius, and we're all going to love it.
I keep forgetting that movie exists.
I'll never let you forget. Neither will he.
I would only be on board for that if it was Morbius and Blade going at each other.
Yeah. Yeah, see what happens.
We all know that's not happening, though, unfortunately.
That was the other interesting thing about this movie is was there even a reference to one of the DC heroes in this Suicide Squad?
Well, Bloodsport is in prison because he shot Superman with a kryptonite bullet.
Yeah, they do bring up Superman. But otherwise there's no like cameos really or anything like
Sean Gunn plays Calendar Man in a very memorable scene. Just screams at Polka Dot Man.
Which is funny because Double D is the voice of Calendar Man in the Long Halloween animated movie. So there you go. It all comes together. Double D, we love you. And everybody else loves Double S. Sylvester the Stallone, the voice of King Shark. Yeah, and James Gunn, I don't know what his plans are, but I know he's going to be working on Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and that Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special that's coming out next Christmas on Disney+. And then I don't know what he's got planned after that, if Warner Brothers will try to woo him back again for anything.
I really don't know because this movie is so critically praised right now.
Well, and that it's one of those unique situations where critics and audiences are by and large, not totally, but by and large in agreement that they liked it.
Yeah, that is so odd nowadays.
Yeah, it's definitely rare, yeah.
And I would, like I said, I would totally be on board for seeing another one if James Gunn decided to do it. However, in the hands of another director, I feel like it'd just be more of that original one where it's like dark and visually dark and just shooting nameless monsters and drab.
Laser beam in the sky. Sky beam.
Oh, Sky Beam, the classic Sky Beam.
Gotta have the Sky Beam. Yeah. James Gunn on his docket, outside of the Peacemaker TV series, he directed all 7 episodes, or 7 of the episodes anyway. I don't know how many there are. He's got the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 are all he's got kind of coming up.
I did this with when they released.
Oh, but then he wrote a screenplay for a Wile E. Coyote movie that's coming out in 2023.
What?
Not even joking.
Oh,
so apparently Warner Brothers got him to write them a Wile E. Coyote movie too. It was originally going to be called Coyote versus Acme. This is this movie, Dakota. I didn't know he's the one who wrote this. It's the movie that's going to take place in the Acme warehouse. Did you hear about this movie?
Vaguely.
Because they were just going to call it, I think, even Acme for a while. And so it's set in the Acme warehouse where, they're the place that manufactures everything the Looney Tune characters use.
Especially Wile E. Coyote.
Especially Wile E. Coyote, which is probably why they ended up changing the name to Wile E. Coyote, because it's probably going to involve him more. Just kind of heard that they were doing this, so that's interesting.
Is it silly that I always thought, that was a real company in real life?
I did too. And I think there kind of is an Acme, but yeah. But anyway, it's Warner Animation is obviously doing it in the same animation. They're the same animators that did Lego Batman and Lego Movie and stuff. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one turns out with James Gunn writing that. I think the only other kids movies I know of that he wrote is the Scooby-Doo movies, which were wow. They were interesting.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I only liked the first one.
That was the one he had more. I think he wrote both of them.
I wonder if he had to get into a mood to write those, can't have gross out humor.
But there kind of is just more kid gross out humor.
That movie also had a really cool exchange when Daphne takes care of that guy that's trying to, kidnap her, and because it's Sarah Michelle Gellar, she had to beat him up, and
yeah, and then Velma is that woman who plays Hawkeye's wife.
Wow, you just did that.
What?
You just disrespected
Linda
Cardellini.
Linda Cardellini. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, she's in other stuff, but she's Hawkeye's wife.
Oh my God. Wow.
Well, I'm sorry. What else is she in? What great thing is she in? Freaks and Geeks?
Wow. Scrubs? Come on, man.
I didn't watch Scrubs.
Next thing you know, you're going to be referring to that guy from The Godfather as Superman's dad.
Well, that is kind of more what I already do call him, because I'm not a huge Godfather person. I also used to call Hawkeye the guy from SWAT. So, I'm just kidding.
He was the least memorable character from SWAT. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, kind of. But he was almost kind of more the bad guy in that. Anyway, no SWAT talk.
$100 million.
$100 million. I feel like we do that a lot.
It's a great line.
So, from 1 to 5, Peacemaker doves.
Not Starros?
Yeah. Hey, there we go. 1 to 5 Starros. How many Starros do you give the Suicide Squad?
I'm going to give it 4 Starros.
Whoa, 4 Starros. There we go. Yeah. I mean, here it really is a top-notch movie, and it shouldn't be. That's the thing I think that is the magic of this man, James Gunn, and what he brings to movies, because that's what Guardians of the Galaxy are. Those shouldn't be A-level movies by any means. And he has this weird way of just elevating things that aren't meant to be elevated, but then he makes you think of them as more elevated than they are, which is kind of amazing.
I think he's really good at taking these characters that I think are most non-comic book people, which is
offbeat or non-comic, yeah.
Because if someone was like, "Oh, hey man, what if I made a movie with this anamorphic raccoon and a talking, walking tree, but the tree only says one word, and this guy from Earth and this green lady that's an assassin, she's ninja assassin,
and a guy who laughs awkwardly a lot, but can smash through things."
Yeah, just what if I got them all and put them together, and you'd be like, "Dude, man, there's a lot going on here."
And James Gunn is like, "Well, as long as I can work Michael Rooker in, I think we can make this work."
I'm gonna get songs from the 70s and 80s too for the soundtrack. I'm gonna be like, "Oh man."
Yeah, and there was a very specific soundtrack to the Suicide Squad too. I will say, that must be something he thinks about music a lot and how he's gonna bring that to a movie. So.
Yeah, I thought the Johnny Cash song at the beginning of this really set the tone.
Yeah, it did. In a really interesting way, but Yeah, so I think with that we'll wrap up this review of The Suicide Squad.
Did you rate it?
Yeah, I think I gave it 4.
Yo.
I was going to, and I think I got sidetracked by the fact that this movie should be like a 2-star movie.
Yeah,
But it's just so and I think I'm just shocked at how he can elevate just something that's so offbeat and ridiculous.
Yeah.
But thanks for listening. What did you think of the Suicide Squad? We'd like to hear from you, and you can tell us either if you're listening to this on YouTube, you can do it in the comments on there. You can let us know on Facebook. We're in all those places, iTunes, where you can subscribe, rate us, and all those things. We'd love to hear from you, what you think of that. Maybe you liked the 2016 Suicide Squad better. Who knows? Anything you'd like to tell us, you can let us know. And so we thank you for listening to this review, and we'll catch you on the next review. So this is Steven.
This is Dakota.
See you later.